One of the places where I have seen that there isn't an initiation is in fandoms. And so you have these debates over, oh, I was a fan way back when before they were big, this, that, the other thing. And somebody else will say, oh, no, I'm a true fan, even though I just came to the party recently. And what I notice is missing is there is no line of demarcation. There is no initiation, no activity that says, now you're an official fan before you were just kind of in that visitor ring that we had talked about. Mm-hmm. Are there, what happens when you don't have that initiation? What do you see?
So there's two levels of your question. The first one is, why does it matter that someone knows that there's a demarcation in fandom? And my guess is when you were noticing the arguments about who's the true fan, the reason that was relevant at all is there was a sense of who's actually contributing to the success of the music and even the enjoyment of other fans, like who's bringing costumes or making the concerts more fun or ensuring the band is getting promoted in ways that are helpful in their markets, kind of thing. And if you're just a consumer, like, you're not a true fan in the sense that you're part of this community that wants this music, this lifestyle, this identity to thrive. And part of being a fan, certainly a hardcore fan, is finding a community. And what I mean by that is gathering with people who we believe share some of our values. A lot of choosing our music is about choosing a tribe or finding a tribe. And I think your point is a good one, that there's no initiation, in the sense that there may be a question to someone, well, when do I really fit in with these cool kids? At what point do they really welcome me as a peer and understand that I want to contribute and I'm enthusiastic about this lifestyle or identity? And so when we don't have an initiation, there can be that longing with someone who is showing up, who is contributing, who is making sacrifices to participate, but they don't know, like, am I really part of this? Or are they just allowing me to show up and not asking me to leave? Which could be fine, but many of us want people who are participating with us and making sacrifices to feel that they belong and recognize they belong. And we may be at a place where we recognize that they do belong, but they don't get it because there's no initiation. There's a big question there. And so what we see happen is people create their own initiations. Something that we don't intend to be an initiation now is grasped as that. So, for example, when I was talking with the people who were building up Twitch some years ago, there was a point where they invited a certain number of users to be what they called the partner. What that meant was they had a different relationship in creating content for Twitch. And this had nothing to do in the minds of the Twitch administrators on how real these Twitch users were. It was just a matter of acknowledgement that they were creating something good enough that, Twitch wanted to collaborate with them to make sure their work continued getting made. And I was told by a Twitch executive that when they reached out to these people to call them partners, that a number of them cried because the invitation was so powerful. Well, here's the thing. These people were already making content and it was already on Twitch, and they were already members of Twitch making content that was of quality. But the invitation from headquarters was still so meaningful they cried. And what was going on there is it told the content creators that you are actually a part of this and we value you, even though their contribution hadn't changed. Well, how much more powerful it would have been if Twitch had been able to offer that acknowledgement without having to choose this very special relationship, but had just provided initiation to people creating content earlier. It cost almost nothing and it was profoundly meaningful. And it was honest, right? These are people who were contributing. So we can recognize when there are people contributing who look like they want to be part of it, that we have a very simple, maybe even inexpensive way of punctuating their relationship so that they know they're part of it. We just call that initiation.
When you're talking about the tokens, for example, I assume it becomes really important that the token is only available through the initiation. So let's say, for example, that I join a community and they give me a patch to wear on my, jacket or whatever. I assume it becomes important that that patch is not something that I can just go to Amazon and buy.
So, Seth, that would be ideal. So, for example, that I'm a Return Peace Corps volunteer and I travel around the world, often to sacred sites. And there's a certain kind of hat that I like to wear because I can crush it and it goes in my bag. It's the color of dirt, so it never looks dirty, and it gives me a lot of shade when I'm in hot places. And I could buy 100 of those hats online tomorrow. If you were to start journeying with me to sacred sites deep in the jungle, Seth, I can imagine a time where you schedule the time, you spend the money, you get the insect repellent. And sometime on the fourth day, I say, Seth, instead of someone who just casually says, they want to go to see architecture. You've gone to deep places full of mosquitoes with us to honor these places. Here's a hat that I've learned over the years has been very helpful in keeping me safe and comfortable when I'm going to faraway places. I'd love for you to have this because you've shown yourself to be a really committed, supportive companion in this lifestyle and in this journey. And my guess, if I've said that correctly and you really want to travel with us, that hat will have special meaning to you because it came from me in this particular relationship, even though all your neighbors could buy one tomorrow. Which is to say, it's not important that it is absolutely unique because who it came from and the relationship that it lived in makes it special. It could be more special if this hat had embroidery on it, maybe even a coded phrase, a quote of a adventurer we like, that we knew its source and its import, but no one else did. So it is great if they're unique, and it's not necessarily required.
Is there value in taking people who have already been initiated into a community and sort of renewing their initiation? I think about, for example, people who renew their vows when they get married. Is that something that you see happening in communities?
Absolutely. But you don't need to call it a renewal per se, although that's a perfectly good thing to do. You could just call it an honoring of their commitment or their participation. So, if you've been traveling with us for 10 years, there's every reason that at the 10-year mark, we take a moment around a campfire, open a bottle of whatever it is Seth likes to drink, maybe pull out our hats that we wear when we're in the sun fighting mosquitoes, and share a toast that says, Seth, this is acknowledged that for 10 years, we've been going to far off places that are important to us to honor the people and the places that we think are sacred and are special to us. And that could be really powerful without having to ask you to renew your commitment, if you will.